Good evening. We'll go ahead and call to order the Winter Haven City Commission meeting of Monday, February 23rd to order. Can we get a roll call?
Commissioner Davis.
Here.
Commissioner Dollison.
Here.
Commissioner Birdsong.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Mercer. Here. And Mayor Yates.
Here. All right, with that, we'll have the invocation this evening led by Bishop Joe Hallman, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance with City Clerk Vanessa Castillo. Please stand if able.
Good evening. Shall we pray? Eternal God, creator of wisdom and giver of understanding, we pause before this meeting to acknowledge that leadership is both an honor and a responsibility. We thank you for the city of Winter Haven, for its families, its businesses, its schools, its mayor, commissioners, city staff, and every neighborhood represented here. Thank you for the opportunity to serve this community. We ask that you grant these commissioners, city leaders, and staff clarity of thought, fairness in judgment, and unity of purpose. Let every discussion be guided by integrity. Let every decision be marked by wisdom. Let every action reflect a genuine desire to serve the common good. Give them patience when conversations are difficult, courage when choices are challenging, and humility when perspectives differ. Bless us to be a better community, we ask tonight. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we've got one presentation this evening, Imagine a Day Without Water, essay contest winners. So,
Mayor and Commissioners, Cassidy King, who is with our Water Department, is going to present this for you this evening. I believe we have some folks here, and we'll do some photos after the presentation.
that'd be great.
Awesome. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Cassidy King, and I'm the Customer Relations Specialist for the City of Winter Haven Water Department. So back in October, the Water Department announced that they were hosting an Imagine a Day Without Water essay contest in celebration of Imagine a Day Without Water, which was on October 16th, 2025. And I actually want to invite our three winners up to meet Katrina up here, Skylar Lorenzo, Reina Hernandez, and Noales Rivera. These are our three winners of our essay contest. So we're going to join. So we had 103 submissions from 7 different schools for our essay contest, and with the help of multiple city staff, we judged these essays off of relevance to topic, creativity, originality, and cohesiveness. And a big thank you not only to the city staff that helped judge these essays, but to Ashley Surgeon, the community liaison for Polk County Public Schools. A huge help, and many emails later we got this all tacked down and were able to recognize our 3 winners here. So alongside tonight, our 3 winners will also be visiting Fairfax Water Plant on Friday to take a tour of Fairfax, talk to our operators, and learn how we treat our drinking water and where our drinking water comes from. So congratulations to our winners, and a big thank you to our families and staff and everyone that joined us here tonight.
Thanks, Cassidy. In addition, Mayor and Commissioners, in addition to the winners, we have some representation. I think, see Sarah Beth from the school board, and Ashley, if you want to join us up here as the liaison, and any of the principals from the schools represented, if you want to join us up for a photo. You're famous, you have a paparazzi. Mayor and Commissioners, I believe we provided you a copy of their essays, I believe at the dais. Very impressive understanding of water and its impact based upon these young students.
Well, thank you to the leaders who helped put that together, and congratulations to our students, and look forward to reading the essays. I have not done that yet, but I will do so this evening. With that, we have no developments of note. We do have one set of minutes for approval this evening. Commissioners?
Okay. Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of February the 4th, 2026 as written.
Thank you. Okay, well, all those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. All right, comments from the audience. So we do have several that have signed up for this evening. I will ask that if you would like to speak to a specific agenda item, just hang tight on that until we get to that agenda item. However, if you have a general topic that you'd like to speak about, now is the time. So I'm going to call first on the list Ms. Betty Hoffman. You'll state your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes. And as a reminder, there is a timer there at the podium.
My name is Betty Hoffman, and I live at US 17 in Havendale at Lake Ridge Condos. I have some papers that you can pass out. These are the questions that I'm going to bring up. I'm writing on behalf of several concerned residents who have asked me to look into the activity concerning behind Spring Lake Plaza. As you know, in 2024, Landmark Scarecrow Peacock proposed a 268 apartment project, which was withdrawn after significant community opposition. Now residents are seeing yellow floats along the shoreline, which appears to be a site preparation for a new project. Rumors has it it's the apartments. They raise several important questions that respectfully request the council address. Access and land use. The area being cleared behind the land appears to be landlocked. We have been told that Landmark is not involved in this new project. Yet across the site would require crossing Landmark property. Has an agreement been allowed access through Landmark property? If so, does this effectively bring Landmark back into the project? Does this open the door for Landmark to pursue the additional 100 apartments they previously sought? Too many residents. This looks like a repackaged version of the original 268 proposed units. Traffic. Traffic remains one of the most serious concerns. Was a new traffic study conducted. The previous study evaluated 1792 in US 27, not 17 in Havendale, so that was not true, which is actually the impact area. US 17 in Havendale is a high crash intersection. Winter Haven ISO rating on that is a 4, on a scale of 10 as being the worst. Compared to Lakeland, which is a 1, and unincorporated Polk is a 3. Recent FDOT changes have forced many residents at our place to use US 17 instead of 6th Street. The reduction from the left 2 lanes to the 1 on US 17 has created long backups that block access to Lake Ridge Condos and the Salvation Army, which can only queue 3 cars in the turn lane. This corridor serves 355 communities, a nursing home, a school with 500 students. Emergency response time would be affected by increased congestion. I'm sure these gentlemen over here can say that's true. Water supply, you had water supply. We're in a drought time right now. Florida's rapid population growth has already placed significant strain on our aquifers. Adding hundreds of new units in this area raises legitimate concerns about long-term water availability and sustainability. School impact and traffic flow. Even before considering classroom capacity, school buses route is a major issue. Will school buses be entering and exiting that development? Will they be required to drive through the mall to reach the Havendale traffic light? With Landmark's numerous unresolved code violations, is the mall even a safe or appropriate access route? Increased foot and vehicle traffic through a deteriorating mall raises additional safety and quality of life concerns. Code violations. Has Scarecrow Peacock corrected their outstanding violations and paid their fines? Residents deserve transparency before any new development is approved. Future of the mall. With so many focuses on apartments, what is the long-term plan for the mall itself? It is currently 3/4 empty and visibly run down. Who would want to live next to a declining commercial property with no clear redevelopment plan? Is this subsidized housing? Will these apartments be market rate, subsidized, or a mix? Residents deserve clarity on the type of housing being introduced into their neighborhood. Community impact and trust. The residents of Lake Ridge and the surrounding neighborhood feels their concerns are being overshadowed by the city's desire for additional tax revenue. Growth is inevitable, but it must be responsible growth. Growth that improves the community rather than burdening it. Protecting the safety and quality of life and property values of current residents should always be the city's highest priority. We respectfully request clear, transparent answers to these questions so that residents can be understanding what is planned for their neighborhood and how their concerns are addressed. You know how to get in touch with me. If you don't like me, you can call Lake Ridge, and we would love to have you and have a little social with you so you can have a question and answer. So, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Hoffman. We'll look into these questions and get you some answers. I too have a question or two. My son wanted to go fish in his first fishing tournament this weekend. So we did, and one of the few spots was in that same area that I had no idea that those markers. So I don't know what's going on, but we'll try to figure out what's happening.
Well, there's many code violations over there. I mean, I've got many packets of it. I think 30, 40 of them.
We'll check it out. We're on top of it. Thank you. Okay, with that, we have Mary Makovic.
Thank you. I'm Mary Makovic. I live here in Winter Haven. My address is not subject to public record because of previous, I'm exempt from public record. Wanted to talk to you. Recently, I listened to the public comments from the Villamar residents, and I was struck by how familiar it sounded. It mirrors what happened with the Spring Lake apartments that Ms. Hoffman was just referring to. Minimal public notice, questions about whether notices were properly mailed, in a sense that once something reaches here, you guys kind of wipe your hands of it and say, well, it's out of our hands. It already went through the planning commission and all that. In the Spring Lake case, I personally pushed on the notice issue and discovered that notices were not properly mailed, and you guys had to mail new notices, and a new planning commission meeting had to be held. So that proves that process matters and errors do happen. But here's my larger concern, is the transparency and the follow-through. In spring of 2024, Landmark requested a zoning amendment change from commercial to multifamily for the additional 100 apartment units that would have combined with the 168 units on the adjacent Scarecrow property. In the city documentation, staff acknowledged that the current PUD ordinance is 35 years old, references obsolete zoning districts, and lacks development standards. That same outdating zoning issue had already surfaced back in 2023 when enforcement challenges arose at the same time. Your police department can tell you about the issues you had with an establishment called The Spot that was leased by Landmark. Y'all took them to court. I think the case was eventually dropped. Then on September 10th of 2024, there was an agenda item to clean up old and obsolete PUDs. I emailed each of you asking why this Landmark property was not included. No response. There have now been multiple opportunities to fix a known problem, and no action has been taken. Meanwhile, construction is moving forward on a 168 unit on the Scarecrow parcel. A property previously described by the property appraiser as being zoned commercial, which apparently you guys had incorrectly given information to the property appraisal that it was commercial and not multifamily, and that the property appraiser deemed it as lacking direct road access. Drawings submitted for review now appear to show access involving that parcel owned by Landmark that y'all have been kicking the can down the road and not addressing the zoning on, with an easement, showing the easement and maintenance tied to the city. So it almost looks like in their drawings that it's gonna be a city-maintained road. And that's what we would like, clarified. So from a citizen's perspective, it raises serious questions. How is this construction moving forward after the rezoning was withdrawn? How is a landlocked parcel receiving permits? Scarecrow has active code enforcement cases and unpaid fines. Why did they not have to resolve these before starting construction? In regards to the roadway in and out of the development, will the city ultimately be responsible for maintaining that access? As Ms. Hoffman stated, there's numerous violations and disrepair going on in the Landmark portion of that. In fact, I think there's a lawsuit right now over how they maintain their parking lot and some injuries to people. So when issues like this move forward without public explanation, trust erodes. This isn't about being anti-development, it's about consistent process, clear notice, and accountability. So here's my request to you. Improve public notice beyond the bare minimum. Use the website, social media consistently, update schedules accurately. Provide a clear public explanation of the zoning status and access approval for the Spring Lake Scarecrow development, and commit to reviewing and updating obsolete PUD ordinances when they are identified. Transparency builds trust. Silence and inaction undermine it. I always include in my emails when I email to you that you have the ability to direct staff, so please do not sit here and wring your hands and say there's nothing you can do about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Mayor. Excuse me, ma'am. Did you not get my email on January 15th?
I did, and I'm
Okay.
sorry, I'm not referring to you. I did not email you previously. You're a new
Okay.
commissioner. You are the only commissioner who has ever emailed me back. None of these other commissioners has ever emailed me.
I appreciate you
So,
acknowledging
yeah, I want to
that.
acknowledge that.
And
I
I,
apologize.
just one thing I do need to correct you, because being a new commissioner, I just read the
Yep.
charter afresh, and we cannot direct staff. We can be removed from office for directing staff. So we can go through the city manager and try to get more understanding, but we
Correct,
cannot
through
direct staff.
the city manager, though, when you receive an agenda item to update PUD, can't you say, why aren't these?
I'm just correcting the phrase, we can direct staff. We cannot direct staff. Just want to
Alright.
make that very clear for everybody that might have heard that.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay, next we have Katie McAvoy.
Hi, my name is Katie McFick. I'm 12 years old. I live in Winter Haven, and my address is exempt from public record due to my mom's job. I'm here to talk to you about the old Floridinos. When I would visit my grandma, I would look out and see the burnt out property, and I felt sorry for the homeless people who were there. I worry about them. My mom, who used to work in the government, encouraged my grandma and I to report it to the city. She said something about it's good for citizens to get involved. I took pictures, and my mom showed us how the city had an app to report these kinds of things. It really took a long time for anything to happen. My mom attended the code enforcement meetings and recorded them for me while I was in school. There were a lot of delays and excuses. The people in my grandparents' condo really wanted the building demolished. The owner of the property lied to the magistrate and told them they were going to rebuild the restaurant and that there were trusses and air conditioning units on this site. I go by there regularly and I will tell you, this was not true. Finally, the building was removed. However, as a punishment for not meeting their deadlines, it was a fine of $12,250. Last week, the city reduced that fine to $2,981.43. That's a reduction of approximately 75%, or a little over $9,000. I don't understand how this happens. especially when someone lies. I am taught to be responsible for my actions, and if I lied to my parents, I would be in big trouble. My mom says sometimes things don't end up like we think they should, and may seem unfair, but we should always try to get involved in making our community better. Couldn't you use this $9,000 for things that could have benefited the citizens of Winter Haven? I can think of some things like a park or someone who's in the hospital that's really sick and can't mow their lawn. I also want to say thank you for supporting Theater Winter Haven and the Ritz. I'm a theater kid and I appreciate the city supports the arts. Thank you for your time and allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see any others on this area, so what I'm gonna ask now of staff is, we've been given a lot of questions this evening. There's obviously a lot of things that we're not up to speed on up here. So if we can have an agenda item for the next commission meeting to specifically address what's happening, let's get these questions answered, and that way it'll be out there. Next commission meeting, please come back and we'll address these items as well. I'll also speak to the email. I apologize. We get a few emails, so if I generally do try to reply to all of them, as I know my fellow commissioners do. So if we miss some, apologize, and we'll try to do better, okay? But like I said, please come back to the next commission meeting and we will have a specific time to address these questions and what's going on that property. Okay, with that, we'll move to Pam Taylor. Ms. Taylor, if you'll give your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes.
Sure. Hi, my name is Pam Taylor. I live at 105 Ellen Court in Winter Haven, Florida. I'm nervous. I wish I could speak as well as she did. Hello, my name is Pam Taylor, and I'm the coordinator of RAISE, the Legal Observers in Polk County. We work with the ACLU of Florida. The Florida Suspected Unauthorized Alien Encounter, which is part of the State of Florida Immigration Enforcement website, lists the number of immigrant encounters for the state of Florida by agency. The Polk County Sheriff has had 709 encounters and our 4th highest on the list in the state. Winter Haven Police Department has had 52 encounters, and for comparison, Tampa has had 16 encounters, Lakeland 12 encounters, and Lake Wales 8 encounters. For-profit companies dominate the detention infrastructure in Florida, and in some, they have a guaranteed minimum number of detainees in each facility. Government support for the criminalization and deportation of immigrants is less a reflection of public safety and more a consequence of investing in massive jails that depends on immigration detention for economic survival. Centers have a well-documented history of horrific conditions and human rights abuses. From pervasive sexual and medical misconduct to unlawful use of toxic chemicals, the centers continue to attack and dehumanize people. Detention centers for immigrants have had many complaints filed, ranging from denial of medical care, medical neglect, lack of legal counsel, unsanitary conditions, and harassment. To quote Silky Shah, co-director of the Detention Watch Network, the detention of immigrants has become big business and a source of profit, yet comes with a significant moral and financial cost for everyone involved. The 287 agreements do not make us safer. It takes resources away from fighting criminals. It harms community-police relationships, makes victims less likely to report crimes, and makes our communities fearful of our law enforcement agencies. I believe it does irreparable harm to our country. I thank you for your time, and I would request that you think about canceling your 287G agreement. And that's it.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, next on the list is Matthew Crowley. Mr. Crowley, if you'll state your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Matthew Crowley. I live at 9071 Thomasville Drive, Winter Haven, Florida, 33884. Sorry if I'm a little rough here. I work for the preschool program, so that's 3 and 4 year olds, and they get sick, they get me sick. It's a whole thing. But good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Last year, I stood at this podium when this commission voted to adopt the 287G agreement. I warned then that this was not a technical adjustment or a routine partnership. It was a decision to tie Winter Haven's Police Department directly into federal immigration enforcement. That commission chose to do that 3-1. Since then, the national enforcement climate has escalated. Operation agreements are being used more aggressively and more visibly. What may have been described as a limited cooperation now sits inside a much broader federal crackdown. And that makes your vote more consequential today than it was the day you cast it. This body approved a policy with real implications for trust, public safety, and the relationship between residents and law enforcement. Yet there has been no full public review, no detailed accounting, no structured discussion about how this agreement is functioning in practice. If this policy is sound, then stand by it publicly. Show the data, show the costs, explain the safeguards, demonstrate the impact. Because here's the reality. When students and young people all across this county are demonstrating, and one right down the road walked 4 miles from where they were to downtown Winter Haven, that is not noise. That's a signal. It means this issue is not abstract. It's being felt in our communities, our neighborhoods, and our homes. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with anybody in this room who is speaking on this tonight. But you do have a responsibility to govern transparently. Local control means local accountability. It does not mean adopting a federal enforcement framework and then treating it as untouchable. You made this decision. Own it, defend it with facts, or have the courage to revisit it. Refusing to review it does not make these concerns disappear. It only reinforces the perception that scrutiny is unwelcome. I was here when you adopted 287G. I am here now, asking you to submit that decision to public review. I request this matter be added to a future agenda. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, next on the list we have Stephen Ellis. Mr. Ellis, if you'll just give your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes.
Hello, my name is Stephen Ellis. I'm at 145 Hawthorne Road, Winter Haven. Obviously, Mr. Yates, you know who I am. You've been in my business. I'm here for the same cause this gentleman was here for. And what I'm trying to figure out for the city in general is how much is projected for the annual cost for supporting the whole 287 bill. I don't know if you guys can answer back or whatever, but let me get through all this. So, has Winter Haven conducted a liability assessment? Are you allowed to answer that or no?
Well, if you'll go ahead and give your statement, and we'll.
Okay. Has the city's insurance provider weighed in on any of this? is the city in general prepared for a federal civil rights lawsuit? Basically, what I'm trying to do is get the commission to show us numbers before signing onto a federal agreement that could cost our city in overtime, lawsuits, insurance, and economic shrinkage. That's basically all I want.
Okay.
I need those answers.
Okay, we appreciate your questions. They've been noted. Okay, next on the list, we have Mr. Scott Short. You good? Or do you want to speak? Agenda? Okay, we'll open it up for public comment when we review the consent agenda. Okay, with that, that completes everyone that has signed up to speak. However, we've got a large audience, so if there's anybody else that would like to speak to any non-agenda item this evening, now's your opportunity. You just give your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes.
Hello, my name is Charles Reese. I live at 267 Kilmer Lane here in Winter Haven, Florida. First I want to say, hey, thanks for the opportunity to, speak. It's my first commission meeting, so cool stuff. It's nice to see you guys in person. But to the topic hand, the 287G agreement was a total scam. Let me back up a little bit here. I was born in Miami, but moved here as an infant and was raised in Polk County, Winter Haven, nearly my entire life. I've been a Polk County boy when I joined the service, and I came back to Polk County when I left the service after 9 years. The Army taught me standards, discipline, and the importance of training. When I look at ICE, I am disgusted. I am frightened by how they continually lower their physical standards, their actual training standards, and that shows in the quality of officer that we see in the news, that we see every day from multiple perspectives. I have met ICE officers in this county who have little to no experience or understanding of what they're doing. But now we're entering into an agreement with this organization, with ICE, this agency, to receive training from the very incompetent agency that can't even, with the billions of dollars of funding, train their own people to a decent standard? I don't understand why we're doing this. Why are we paying to do this? They should be trying to ask us to let them pay us to send our officers. Is ICE so incompetent that we need to have our officers spend their valuable time covering down for their actions? Is that what you want to send to these people? Again, I think about this and I'm worried about the direction this country is going. And I know at the heart of this entire immigration enforcement with ICE is just this propaganda effort to divide this nation, to teach us that immigrants must be our enemies, so any action we take must be the right thing. But now you have a chance to go against that narrative, to do right by the people of Winter Haven. This is not who we are. This is not what we need, and this will not help us as a city. I say, and I am asking you with grace and civility, to please in the future add 287G review to a future agenda item. Because at the very least, we can receive the transparency. You guys see things we can't. Maybe there is a great justification, and I can't see it here in like a normal person space. But at least having it open again for public comment, having people review it, we can see the data. If this program isn't yielding results, then we shouldn't be spending money on it. And thank you again for the opportunity for speaking.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Anyone else wish to speak to any item not on the agenda? Okay, so we'll close public comment. You did kind of let us know you were coming tonight, so we took the opportunity to put some numbers together in the interest of full transparency to let you know what's happening, where we've come from, where we've been since this was passed middle of last year in late June. So with that, City Manager, do you have an update on where we stand?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll give insights to my understanding of questions you're asking about, and then also ask Chief Monroe to provide answers to any questions you may have specifically. So, as noted, the city entered into a memorandum of agreement with the 287G program last summer. There are 3 different models within that program. The city of Winter Haven participates in what's known as the task force model. There's also a jail enforcement model and a warrant service officer model. Ours is just on the task force model. In the time since we have been trained, our staff has been trained to enact the 287G program, of which we have 57 trained officers. In order to participate in that training, there is a requirement that the individual have 2 years minimum law enforcement experience. So hence, not all of our officers fall within that. We do have some newer officers. Since September 1st of 2025 through February 11th, 2026, we have responded to 38,849 calls for police service. That's all calls in that window. Within that, in the individuals encountered, there were a total of 47 individuals that were queried regarding lawful presence status. Those queries occurred when officers had factors indicating possible unlawful presence. This represents a total of 0.1% of total calls that we responded to with our law enforcement services. Of those 47 queries, and a query means that we have inquired as to someone's legal status, and if they did not have legal status, then we notify the ICE administration through the channels that the police department has. Of those 47 queries, 30 individuals were released at scene or had no additional hold placed by ICE. 17 individuals determined unlawfully present, and ICE issued a civil detainer for them. In terms of costs, what we're doing is we ask that question of every person we come in contact with of place of birth, lawful status. If there is not a legal status, then we notify ICE. That is a phone call that is made. That is the only activity we participate in with them. We don't transport to an ICE detention facility in any way. 16 individuals we had arrested, or we had 16 arrests, incidents involving arrests that involved a total of 17 people. Those were people that we were taking to the Polk County Sheriff's Office for book-in because of a crime. And those individuals were the ones that were requested by ICE to be detained, and that process is handled through the Sheriff's Office. So we're not involved in, I guess, raids or active knocks and things like that. This is in the process of performing our normal, ongoing law enforcement activities. We encountered 47 undocumented persons, and at the request of ICE, 17 of those were detained. Again, that is out of almost 39,000 calls for service. So if we can answer any questions, myself or Chief Monroe beyond that, happy to do so.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the commission? I'll just follow up with one question. So the amount of dollars that we've actually spent on this program to date is what?
The only thing that I think we would have spent anything on would have been the time that our employees participated in the training that is required to participate in that program. There's no other expense that we incur, and there is no revenue that we receive for participation either. The City of Winter Haven has not received any federal dollars associated with that.
Okay. All right, thank you. Can I ask a question? I'm sorry, we've closed public comment.
That is a standard protocol within our operations that we ask every individual.
Yes, sir. Since we, Mayor, if I may, Commissioners, since we enacted this program in our training, that is our protocol. We ask everyone, at every encounter, no matter what the call for service is, we can respond to a battery call. We're going to ask those questions. Traffic stops, we ask those questions.
Can't hear you.
Sorry about that. We ask those questions to every individual we encounter, point blank.
Okay, thank you.
Can I follow up on that with the city attorney? Would that be considered viewpoint neutral in order to protect us?
I certainly would opine that.
Okay,
Yes.
so the reason we do it is to make sure we are not discriminating rather than
Yes, sir.
discriminating.
That's the,
That-
Thank you.
That is
Thank you.
among one of the major reasons why we.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to our agenda. We do have a consent agenda. Commissioners?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
move approval of the consent agenda in its entirety.
Okay. Thank you. A motion's been made. Someone did want to speak to one of the items within the consent agenda, so we will close the public hearing, or excuse me, close the commission meeting, open the public hearing. And I think, Mr. Short? Need your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Scott Short. I live at 2610 Windsor Oaks Court, Winter Haven. And thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, for hearing me one more time. I spoke a few weeks ago about my concern with what construction activities are taking place in Winter Haven, specifically right now with the water and wastewater projects that you have ongoing. As I stated at that time, in our utilities department, which obviously my company does utilities, but I'm not stating it just as a contractor too, but I'm also stating it as a citizen and local person that uses public utilities here. The city's contracted now with the same contractor for the Polk Regional Water Cooperative, which is a very large undertaking. We all understand that. I'm not gonna go over everything again like I've already discussed with most of you. You've also contracted with your wastewater plant with the same contractor for what I'm being told now is approximately $200 million contract. And then finally now, you're looking to award both water plants for somewhere in the neighborhood of $25 million, again, to the same contractor. So I'm expressing this with my displeasure, for one, because of the way these jobs are being handled. This is getting to be kind of a routine as I'm seeing it, but you're using methods where you, as the city personnel, staff, you're not experts. You don't know cost estimating. Us as contractors are the ones that knows estimating. I'll say this in front of most engineers. Most engineers aren't good at cost estimating. And so the way the system you're using right now, I think needs to be looked at strongly, especially with jobs like these two that you have right now. They're under design with two different engineers. You've got budgets for both of them. I'm not sure where you got your budgets. I'm not sure who gave you the budgets. I'm not sure who these experts are. But I think this is something the city needs to look at closely. For one, these projects are going to companies that aren't even located in our county. And we're not getting to the transparency, the fairness of being able to look at these things and say, yeah, we got the best job, the best project for the best money. And I'm gonna close real quickly here with one last thing. I had mentioned to you before about the comment that was made with projects in Lake Wales, but I'm gonna I've mentioned to some of you already, I'm gonna bring a project that the City of Winter Haven has right now. You awarded a project, or you did, behind Jarrett Gordon Ford there, you're putting all new sanitary sewer utilities in for that whole neighborhood back there. The city's estimate on that project was somewhere in the neighborhood of $6.7 to $6.8 million. And you took competitive bids where you actually had competition. You designed it, you bid it, and you got bids at right under $5 million. That right there is a classic example of what competitive bid will do for you. and especially in a competitive environment. There's contractors that needs jobs. There's others, contractors, that got more work than they know what to do with. So I think the city needs to reevaluate some of the processes. And in the two water plants you have right now, they're both under design. I've reviewed the schedule that was given in the proposals. Both of these jobs aren't even designed to give you a GMP until November, December of this year. And neither one of the jobs are even scheduled to start construction, according to the schedule, till the summer of next year. Those jobs could be designed and put out for bid easily within that time. Thank y'all.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wish to speak to any comment to any item within the consent agenda? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing, reopen city commission meeting. Any further discussion on any item in the consent agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Okay, with that, we've got no resolutions this evening. We do have one ordinance first reading. City Attorney, read by title only, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ordinance number O-26-09, an ordinance of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, amending ordinance number O-25-29 regarding appropriation of funds for defraying expenses of the municipal government of the City of Winter Haven for the fiscal year commencing October 1, 2025, providing for severability and for the administrative correction of scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. After the start of this current fiscal year, the city identified planned projects and an emergency purchase that require at this time budget amendments to allocate revenues and fully fund related expenditures. These projects include the Rail Spur Connection Project at the Intermodal Logistics Park, the renovation of the City Hall Annex, and the emergency purchase of a fire alarm system for the Police Department building. The Rail Spur project has a total estimated cost of $3,300,202 and will be funded from a job growth grant from the state's Department of Commerce in the amount of $1.5 million and a transfer from the general fund in the amount of $100,000. Construction costs in excess of the city's $100,000 contribution and the state's grant are the collective responsibility of Tratt Properties and Supply Properties II LLC per the cooperation agreement that was previously executed by the commission. The second project, the renovation of the City Hall Annex, or the old Fire Station number 1, immediately north of this building, has a guaranteed maximum price of $4,021,235, and funds are available in the construction fund as a result of transfers from the building fund. As you may recall, this renovation is to house the building division. The fiscal year 25-26 budget includes $2 million for this project, requiring an amendment from the fund balance within that construction fund in the amount of $2,021,235. Those funds all come from revenues associated with the building division's operations that have been set aside for this specific project. The final item, the Winter Haven Police Department's fire alarm system, is at the end of its serviceable life, and the police department has processed an emergency purchase justification in the amount of $57,872.47 to replace the system. This expenditure will be funded from anticipated excess general fund revenues. Staff recommends the City Commission approve Ordinance O-2609 and authorize the city manager or other designee to sign all documents and take all necessary actions related thereto. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
a motion to move forward on ordinance O-2609 to second reading.
Does that move for approval?
We
don't
don't generally
you
make
don't need a-
motions on first readings unless.
Oh, I'm sorry, it was a first reading.
Unless it's
Yeah,
being.
it's
I'm sorry, that's my bad.
Okay.
Why didn't
unless
you
it-
stop me?
Unless it's, unless I prompt you to, you know,
Yeah,
there's
no,
a public
my
hearing.
fault, my
transmittal.
fault.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, so we'll take this matter up again on March 9th for second reading at the City Commission at that time. I do make mistakes. I'm a Seminole, but every now and then I make a mistake. No new business, so we'll move on to City Commission liaison reports. Commissioner Birdsong.
All right, thank you. I only have one item, and that was the Central Florida Regional Planning Council that was held at the Sebring Airport, which was an eye-opening experience for me. I had never been on that airport, did not realize that the 12 hours of Sebring took place at the airport. They leased space, and that's where it takes place. And I also got to tour a B-52 World War II bomber that was flown into that airport, and it's in one of the hangars. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Davis?
Sure. It's been kind of a light couple weeks for me. I did attend the Ridge League of Cities dinner, and as much as I enjoyed myself, I highly regretted missing that evening the performance of Wizard of Oz at Theater Winter Haven. My niece got to stand in for Dorothy, and I hear it was a wonderful performance, so I wish I had been there instead. And then besides that, I've spent a couple of meetings so far in orientation with some of our department heads, having a great time learning more from them and hearing how things are going in our city. I really do appreciate all of our staff. I'm sorry Mr. Short stepped out. I did want to comment a little bit. This has given me an opportunity to really dig deep into some of our processes and learning about CMAR and design build, traditional build. And I'm not in a position, of course, to fully understand his concerns, but I am, I have some general ideas for how these things should be done that I want to make sure we're ensuring, openness and transparency. I'm also, I share his concerns about, the bid process is meant to make sure that there's integrity to the process. I'm not at all suggesting there isn't in this case. I'm just saying that I understand the reason why we have the bid processes in place, and this goes across all levels of government. So I will be, looking to understand better, and I generally support the idea of keeping business local. I mean, these are taxpayers; their employees are taxpayers. Keeping that, keeping them employed and working in the city is a priority. It's not the only priority, and it's not maybe the first priority, but I'd like to learn a little bit more about that. And finally, I do want to address some of the comments that were made this evening. We are a captive audience. This is a limited public forum, so anyone can come here and speak their mind. But to me, and I was actually kind of surprised there are only 4 speakers. I thought there was going to be a lot more based on the buzz building up to this meeting. But this is not an immigration issue in my mind. If you were to ask us, you probably get 5 different opinions on this country's immigration policy. What this speaks to me is really about our law enforcement. And, we expect our law enforcement officers to act with integrity, but we also expect our residents to treat them with respect. And, I've been seeing red this past week, working for the school district with the walkouts. And what I see are kids who are very passionate about an issue, who are misguided by the adults in their lives, and they are being given misinformation on what is happening. They believe we have a law enforcement problem here in Polk County, and we do not. And they are, I actually saw them when I was driving down 17 to go to work and called City Hall to alert our law enforcement to keep these kids safe. In the school district, we have to act in loco parentis with these students. That means we have an obligation to keep them safe when we have them under our responsibility. And we were unable to do that because they decided they were going to walk out 4 miles in traffic. We saw the videos. We know what was going on, and then behave very disgustingly, in my opinion, with their profanity and their vulgarity towards our men and women in uniform. I don't appreciate that, but I especially don't appreciate the misinformation that is trying to drive them to behave this way. There are adults who are weaponizing this for their own political ideology, and to them, they do not care about these kids. These kids, as far as they're concerned, are bricks, or what Grady calls BFRs, big freaking rocks that he wants to throw at the law enforcement. It needs to stop. And that also goes not just for the social media that's pushing it, but for our traditional media. If you read in today's Ledger article by Gary White, he quotes a student claiming that ICE came on our campuses, and it's not true. I texted him and told him it wasn't true on Saturday. And then I find out today that many people were telling him all week when he was pursuing these rumors that it's not true, and he still ran it. They do not have the best interests of these students at heart, but we do at the district, and so I don't appreciate it. So I want to set the record straight, and I want to make it very clear, we do not have a law enforcement problem here in Polk County. Thank you.
Commissioner Dawson?
Good evening. I had opportunity to attend the City Black History Luncheon. It was well attended, food was excellent. I tell you, great choices to make, and ate till I was full. So I appreciate that, and also respecting the Black History Month. You know, we lost a great American in that, the Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson. Just about all my life, I've known who Reverend Jesse Jackson was. And I was disheartened, like some, and I'm sure many, that he was not given at least the same or similar consideration that others have had relative to his body of work and life commitment to this nation and to this world. But that's just the world we live in today. But I wanted to recognize a great man and the great work that he had done on behalf of so many people. I'm sitting here in great part because of a lot of the work that he had done, along with Dr. King and many others who suffered much, so that many would have opportunity to serve and to be a part of real change that happens in our community, so we can come and have these kind of exchanges and be able to share our thoughts and our ideas as to the joy of living in this great country. I also want to appreciate young men and women who have really shown this country and made this country proud in the Olympics, in the Winter Games. My wife and I, we were really riveted by a lot of the activities, particularly the hockey games were, just amazing. The women and the men's bring home the gold, and just a lot of great opportunities to see some just amazing young people make this country proud. So go Team USA.
Thank you, sir. Sorry, Mayor Tim Mercer. Off tonight.
I went to the TPO meeting and Bartow board meeting. One of the things that they were considering was moving to FDOT, which is right up on the corner. Along with that, because we're kind of crowded in the current administrative commission room, and because we're a large group. So, but anyway, I think almost every city is represented in some way, either in one of the boards or various positions. So, but they're not moving, and there was a cost of that, about $78,000 a year to move, because they had to have someone come in at 4 a.m. in order to have the meeting at 9 to set up and do all of that kind of stuff. So, but they are going to expand that room and expand the seating for it so that everybody is at the same level or close to that. So, also I attended the Ridge League, and we got an update on the legislative bills that are currently going through, and I guess some of them are still going through certain committees. Also attended the Polk County Annual JROTC Military Ball, and you talk about some respectful kids and children, young adults, I should say. They're focused on leadership, character, citizenship, and so they were wonderful. It was wonderful spending time with them, and much in their best attire too. So I wanted to say a little bit about the comparison of the bids that we do and what they call a regular bid or hard bid. It has very few components, and so it's easy to design and bid out and build. There's very, And we all know that if there's any changes, then there comes change orders because it's a follow the process. You build to the design, and if it's somehow that doesn't work, you have to have a change order to change that. So it's additional cost rather than just the bid part of it. And then there's design build, which is stepped up a little bit and has a few more components. But you know, you select the bid team and everything like that too. But when you get to CMAR, you're talking about large, complicated, many pieces. It's just not building a building, it's building all the processes. You're talking about a water plant and a wastewater plant and a lot of other building. The CMAR is, like I said, so many decisions to be made, but you can do value engineering at the same time you're designing the bid, you know, and there's questions that the group has to answer, like, do you lease a transformer or do you buy one? Why does this cost so much on pipe? We've got to find, you know, a cheaper cost for that because you're going to run us over, you're going to do this or that. So they have to, you know, correspond with each other, and they have to look for the best solution. And they may look at the bid or the design and say, this calls for a concrete block wall, and then it's, can we do a prefab wall and do it cheaper? Or can we use a prefab wall? And some of the other things, you know, it's a lot of professionals hand in hand working together. And I know that some of them will ask, well, why use this material? This material was cheap 2 years ago, but now it's really expensive. Maybe we can find another material such as roofing or something like that. And there is a percent, you know, you have a certain amount of cost. Let's say we have $2 million to build this project. And at $2 million, if there's savings, there might be some incentive, a percent given to the people that work to save it for you. But the majority of that money comes back to the city, and we can use that for other projects. And so that's kind of, you know, the outline of the CMAR. And everybody, you know, they form a team to do that. They say, okay, I'm an engineer, I need somebody, I need an architect, and I need this, let me get those in my group, and we'll bid this project. So that's the way I understand it. Somebody can tell me if I'm wrong. You know, they can correct me in any of the processes that I didn't explain correctly. So, but it's not that we're taken advantage of or something like that, and everybody has that opportunity. If you're an engineer, if you're a contractor, you have an opportunity to go with a group, you know, to do that too. So, am I right, T? Is that a good explanation, or is there some correction?
I think it's a good explanation. You know, with each process you have different submittal elements. So if you're doing a traditional hard bid, meaning someone has designed a project, you've reviewed that, you're now going to put those construction plans out, you are awarding based upon the matter of lowest cost. But you are subject to change orders, that if something is missing within that process or something changes because it was, you know, needs to be done differently, then you will pay that cost in the change order. As I mentioned during our workshop, I believe it was, the design build process, you know, that project is being designed and evaluated by a singular team working together through the process. You get a guaranteed maximum price. Your likelihood of change orders is greatly reduced. However, any cost savings are not realized by us as the organization hiring them. On the CMAR, very similar to design build, except those two pieces are separated. You are value engineering throughout, again, in an effort to reduce change orders. So as Mr. Short had mentioned, The challenge of getting estimates on what that construction cost would be from an engineer of record, you're not really getting estimates because you have a contractor right there who is estimating that project all the way through and identifying alternative means, methods, and materials to provide it. When it comes to a traditional design and then hard bid, you're going off of an ITB, an invitation to bid, and it's based upon lowest cost. It may not tell you anything about the quality of the contractor or the firm that's coming to do that work. When you're doing a design build and when you're doing a CMAR, Construction Manager at Risk project, you are awarding those projects based upon credentials. It is what we call a request for proposal. All of those come in. They are public documents upon being opened. They are evaluated based upon an established criteria that is in the request for proposals of what we are going to look for, what is the experience we want, what is the references from past projects, all these different pieces of that, and it's like hiring an employee. You're reviewing that resume in the format of that request for proposal, and you're making a selection for who is most qualified to deliver that project for you. So.
Did that help?
Clear as mud.
And we won't talk about public-private partnerships because that's a whole nother,
No.
as
We
we
won't
discussed
talk about
Wednesday.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Mercer. Okay, with that, a couple items. So, I'll just say that, I'll say it's unfortunate that the media gets to paint with such a wide brush. And I mean all forms, national, local, social, doesn't matter. They paint with this brush and it's out there for everyone to dissect, create their own opinions, and it seems like create chaos these days. But I'll say this, Winter Haven is not Minneapolis. It doesn't operate the way Minneapolis does, nowhere close. Thank you for city staff and putting these numbers together and giving us an overview of where things have stood for the last 6-7 months. I'd ask that, I think it would be good practice just to keep up with these numbers going forward. Probably have to condense down to quarterly at some point because you can get multiple months layered in there. But in the interest of transparency, and I'm full on in agreement, governments need to be transparent in the way that they operate, and that's what this document has done here. And I appreciate you guys putting that together for us. And I think Winter Haven's doing it right. So that's all I'll say about that. I do have a commission or a petition here from multiple residents throughout the city of Winter Haven. I think this is in everybody's box. If not,
Was that the one that was received today, Mr. Mayor?
received today, and it's part of public record now in support of the quality of life that residents enjoy in the city of Winter Haven. And
If I could just comment on that, we received that today and provided a copy of that to everybody for public record. I don't know, there's no addresses listed there, there was no return address, there was no indication of where that came from. But it did come as a document, therefore we wanted you to have a copy of it. Sure. But I cannot validate or verify if those are city residents or county residents or state of Florida residents. There was nothing to accompany that in any shape.
we'll take a look, but nonetheless, I take it to believe that there are people who enjoy the quality of life that they have here in Winter Haven, and we'll take it at face value for how it's been presented. Also, if we can, as I mentioned, obviously there's a lot of, say the right words, Brian. There's a lot of stuff going around around Spring Lake, and so I think, not saying any of it's right or wrong, but good to have a good briefing at our next city commission meeting on March 9th to just inform the public once again, keeping everything transparent as we know it, and making sure everybody's staying above board on that project or any project throughout the city for that matter. So,
Mr. Mayor, I have a question
Yeah.
about that. We haven't been presented any information on any development of Spring Lake or we haven't gotten anything. As a rule, it doesn't come to us first.
Commissioner Birdsong, as I understand, the project with Spring Lake
All of that.
it's tied to the original PUD that would have been established. Mr. Labby may be able to elaborate on this, but the original PUD that is in place, Ms. Hoffman and Ms. Makovic, I believe the name is, referenced a project that came before the commission several months back.
Yes, I know
And
that.
we did take that back out. There was
Right,
an issue with
we did.
notification to the condo association to the south. So we took that back through the entire process. In the time in which it was going back through planning commission and the like, the second time, the applicant withdrew that project. So the original PUD remains in effect for that entire property. And of course, we'll put all this together and bring it back to you for,
So, is there another project?
Eric, can you speak to it?
There is. The piece of property that you will currently see under construction, that they've put turbidity booms out in the lake for right now, is an apartment, 168 unit apartment complex. It's a different piece of property. It's to the west of the piece of property that started coming through the process and then got withdrawn because of some private property issues. So it's a different piece of property. It was entitled for 120 apartments and 8 single-family homes back in 1985. And then that was amended in 2006. It removed the single-family part and increased the allowed units in that PUD to 180. They recently came through the site plan process for 168 apartments. So it's been entitled for 180 apartments for over 20 years.
Okay, my question is, they know something that we don't. I mean, does it come, I'm just,
This would be the type of thing.
I didn't hear you, Joe.
This would be the type of thing that does not come back to the commission. It is, if I'm correct, it's a site plan approval process.
The zoning's been in
And
place since
this-
2006, so then it's just a matter
Yeah.
of submitting a site plan, adhering to the requirements of the PUD and the Land Development Code, getting your SWIFT MUD permit, your NPDES permit,
So,
and all of that.
so the people that were here tonight don't know that.
Well, I don't know what they know or don't know, but I think.
Okay.
I think what's happening, if I may, is they're making assumptions. And they're marrying this project that's happening now in with what the past of Spring Lake. And that was my point as to why we need to convene at the next commission meeting to kind of just, let's get it out there in the open. Let's be public about it. But you weren't even on the commission in 2006, were you?
Oh, yeah.
Or you weren't? Man, you're old.
2002.
John was here too.
Do you remember what you voted on in 2006?
Yeah.
So I think it's good practice. Just let's have an update on not only Spring Lake, but this project as well. I know we're not going to make any decision on it, but let's be transparent about what's happening and what's going on.
And you know, just one other thing, is that when, like, a lot of the people that showed up here tonight to speak, they're gone. They come, they make their state what they want to state, and they leave. And even if we're going to have, you know, they don't.
It's got to be early in the agenda.
They don't stay to listen. I mean, and we're not, it has been the rule of this body, we can't get into a back and forth dialogue with the members of the audience. And so the only time that we can really talk back to them is like what we're doing now. I see that Mr. Corley is back, so, you know, and the whole thing about ICE and our police force, nobody stated tonight that what we did, when we approved that, there was basically, if we could have not approved it, and then something worse would have happened to us as a community. So, I mean, you know, so I just, sometimes I really, as I sit here, want us to respond, but I know if we do that, we'll be here all night.
So that's why we can follow up.
Yeah.
Commissioner Dollison.
I guess the question is, do those inquiries come into, to you, Eric? Do those individuals contact you or your department to see?
I forwarded a packet of information to Miss Betty Hoffman last week, including all of the prior zoning approvals for that property, the recently approved site plan, and information. I did forward that to her last week.
So we're being transparent relative to that.
Yes, sir.
So the information that she's requesting, she is receiving. She actually presented all these questions here in the form that she had. Of course, you see that as well. And did she propose any of those questions to your staff or anyone?
Several of these questions were asked. I would say the packet of information that I sent her addressed the majority of them. Some of these are private property issues that I wouldn't have any knowledge of, such as what is Landmark doing with the existing shopping center and stuff like that. But many of these questions were answered in the materials that were sent to her.
Right.
Okay, with that, the last thing I'll say is I attended the league call this morning on the legislative updates, and so the big elephant, the property tax situation. So obviously the House passed the version last week. The Senate version, or we should have a very good understanding of what will be in the Senate version as soon as tomorrow, before the Senate goes to meet on that. So stay tuned, and with that, City Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Commission, nothing tonight.
Thank you. City
Save my
Manager?
croaky voice.
City Manager?
Oh, I've got several items, sir. So first item, I'm going to provide to you a letter that we have drafted through the administration to Alex Kelly, who is the Secretary of the Florida Department of Commerce, and Mr. Jared Perdue, who is the Secretary of the Florida Department of Transportation. This is in anticipation of continued development at the SunTrax facility related to advanced air mobility. And with those two agencies being directly involved in certainly commerce and transportation and safety and the like, we are requesting their endorsement of in support for a strategic alignment between SunTrax, the Winter Haven Regional Airport, and the city of Winter Haven, to develop a framework to ensure safety, explore and seize opportunities for innovation and operational synergies. We have a number of things that are happening at Winter Haven Regional Airport. The school district has a pretty significant project out there in the exploration of a permanent campus on site. There's about 200 students that are presently involved there. There is also Jack Brown Seaplane Base that is here in Winter Haven on the north end or the west end of the airport. And with SunTrax coming online with advanced air mobility testing, we want to make sure that we have continued collaboration and cooperation between all these entities that can not only help ensure safety within the airspace in and around Winter Haven, but also that provides opportunities to embrace innovation and partnerships and strategic synergies and the like. So this is really just a request for them to endorse such an approach to give us a kind of a pathway to further secure what we're already having conversations in this regard, but really kind of trying to formalize that. So we put this letter together, and I wanted the commission to have a chance to look at. This would be for signature by the mayor and myself, along with Troy Heidel, who is the director of the Winter Haven Regional Airport, and Mr. Bruce Lyon, who serves as the chair of the Airport Advisory Committee. So this is really just getting out in front of the issue, in trying to create a pathway for significant collaboration between the major players in our airspace.
Is creating operational standards or?
From a safety standpoint, certainly, but, we're also, as we talk about digital remote towers,
Right.
That's part of the next generation of aviation. Certainly, advanced air mobility also falls within that. And shared airspace, and as we explore opportunities to secure a dedicated frequency, when advanced air mobility goes up into that airspace, if they're on what we call a CTAF, the common traffic air frequency, then that's one more user group in there that's adding chatter within the space and can create confusion and conflict. Their presence may actually give us some additional leverage in getting that designated frequency for our airport. So I just think there's a tremendous opportunity with that innovative aspect of what's happening at SunTrax for us to harness that. We're the closest airport to them. And it may also create opportunities, as you'll read within the letter, when those private firms are coming in to do their research and their development and they need practical application space, our airport is the closest one. May lead to further development of commercial hangars and land lease type developments at our airport. So this is just trying to plant that seed and see how that grows.
Here's a question.
Sir?
Is Troy being proactive in the respect of the potential that this could bring to the city of Winter Haven? Meaning that I would think, and this is just me talking, not the whole commission, but maybe we need to have this discussion. We want to be a part of this, right? And we want to, obviously the last master plan that we did for the airport wouldn't have included air mobility in it, right?
But the one we're doing now contemplates that.
Right, and that's my point, is are we at the point to where we're reaching out to these air mobility type companies to say, hey, you're welcomed here in Winter Haven? Or are we not quite at that point yet?
I don't think advanced air mobility is quite at that point yet. So all this work you're seeing done at SunTrax is about how do we begin to embrace that and develop it for practical applications. But certainly as we look at our next, revival of our airport layout plan, advanced air mobility comes into that. When Troy and I traveled to Atlantic City last summer, we went and explored how they're doing air traffic control with simulations of how this all plays in. At the same time, we're looking at digital remote towers. So I think that with it being in such close proximity, it's ready for further development in airports around this country. We're probably one of the best situated for that because we're in such proximity to it. And the next gen stuff that we're doing in the aviation community. I'd say that we are being super proactive in that regard.
And I made this comment a while back at a TPO meeting, they love or hate the train that they want to build from Orlando to Tampa. I don't know that that's the technology that's on the forefront. It seems like this is the technology that's on the forefront. And as fast as drones have evolved over the last 15, 20 years, how fast is this thing going to evolve? And I think Winter Haven could stand to be a major player when it comes to that, given our location between two major international airports.
And again, that's the whole purpose of us reaching out to our state partners in that. That's what we're expressing here. Let's harness that energy together. We have a benefit we can provide to you. You have a benefit that you can provide to us, and together we can provide a benefit to our community on the safety side. So let's harness that. So if the commission is okay with that, simply a request for them to endorse this type of approach. And where it gets us, it's hard to say, but at least we're on record of saying we'd like to see this happen.
I think you have the nods.
Okay. So we will, Mr. Mayor, if you would sign that on your behalf, and then I'll take it from there. We have an original, I think, with Ms. Nicholson for signature. Okay. Couple more items, if I may. We, I believe, have placed on your calendars our 2026 Strategic Momentum Session. This is reviewing kind of where we are in our strategic pillars, accomplishments that have been achieved over the past 12 months, and what is on the horizon, as well as discussions about your budget priorities, certainly in anticipation of what could or could not happen at the state level. We're thinking about that already with a very conservative budget approach, but want to make sure that we take time to hear your positions on future budgetary expenditures. We've set the dates for that to be the better part of the full day on April 1st and a half a day on April 2nd. That is Holy Week, so that gives you Good Friday. If you have other commitments, you're not conflicted with that. I know also that I believe there is a groundbreaking or some type of ceremonial event with Advent Health. Our intent is to get you out in time for those of you that wish to attend that. It is, I think, right before noon on that Thursday. But this is on your calendars, and just wanted to note that we are trying to lock down the location. You would think with all the facilities that we have that would be super easy, but almost every facility we have is booked. So we have a couple thoughts on how we're going to make that happen, and I will report further on that, but those are the dates. The past couple weeks, we have participated in our grant and aid training. So this is the training program that we require those nonprofits that wish to pursue or participate in our grant and aid application program to attend one of these mandatory trainings so that they understand the process and the parameters of that. We actually had to add a fourth session because there was such demand, and we did that today, was the final one. We had 200 individuals representing roughly 150 agencies, Katrina?
So we went back and calculated it after today's session. We had 179 attendees representing 116.
So more people signed up, not all of them showed up, but that number continues to increase year over year. We believe, released to them today some information on how to begin the process. The training certainly tells them everything they need to do, but then we send them a link to begin starting up that process on their side. There is a 2-week concurrency review, or not concurrency, but a sufficiency review of their applications, that if we find errors within it, we send that back. And your grant and aid committee will meet in May to begin their deliberations on those. So one of the things that I would ask for you to do between now, and really this could be a topic of discussion during our budget portion of the strategic momentum session, contemplating what our allocation will be to the grant and aid committee for them to distribute those funds. Last year it was approximately $347,000 that they gave out, but want to make sure that we have some guidance to give to them. Also, historically, you have given consideration to some of those long-term, larger recipients within the community, specifically within that, the Boys and Girls Club, Girls Inc., Meals on Wheels, the Neighborhood Service Center, and I believe PEP also fell within that. If you want to give guidance on how you would like them to consider that, I'm not asking for any answers on it tonight, just want you to begin thinking about it. And then you have a good sense of what your nonprofits do in the community. Are there specific areas that you would like to see them focus when awarding money? For example, if homelessness is a major concern for you, do you want them to target that? Or if it's workforce readiness, or if it's feeding ministries, whatever speaks to you so that we can give that guidance to them. We still rely upon the document that we brought forward a few years back from United Way and Give Well that spelled out what some of the major areas of need are within the county. That has not been updated, but I also don't know that those issues have gone away either. So just want you to begin thinking about that. I'm available for questions and further discussion with you as need be. and then we'll have some further discussion at the strategic momentum session to be able to give your committee guidance.
What are the current guidelines that we have to the committee at this time? for the-
There are none. I mean, it's, once we give them a budget, they review those and they make that decision or that recommendation based upon the impact to local citizens through the programs that they deliver. Now, the commission's approval, in order to apply for funds, you have to have been in existence and serving Winter Haven residents for at least 2 years. And that was done so that we don't have agencies that just say, hey, there's grant money available, I'm gonna form a new nonprofit and go after money with no proven track record. So, what I've told every one of these groups when I have the chance to speak to them is, can't tell you what the primary intents of the commission are, other than as they distribute money out through the budget process, through the grants that we're trying to fulfill needs within our community that we don't presently serve, and trying to ensure that those dollars go to meet the greatest need where possible. Okay? I want to take a minute to introduce, any further questions on Grant A before I move on? Make sure I get all those answered. Okay. I want to introduce to you our new division chief of EMS. I believe I've got the title right. Mr. Justin Hooper. Mr. Hooper, if you want to come to the podium and say good evening to the folks. As you know, over the past year with Chief Newbrand joining our team, we've been working to ensure our fire department administrative structure meets the needs of the community. And the final missing piece of that was the selection of a division chief of EMS. We're happy to welcome Mr. Hooper on board, who came on, I believe he's in the first day of his second week now. So with that, Chief, Justin.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Just want to take a couple minutes just to introduce you to, as City Manager stated, our new Division Chief of EMS, Justin Hooper. Justin was a previous employee of the fire department here. He left us in 2018 to pursue some further advanced clinical experience. Went on to serve as an advanced nurse practitioner working in trauma surgery at Lakeland Regional Hospital, and then also went on to be the program director at Polk State College. So we're really excited to have him back here on our team. He is, across the county, is the most highly trained and educated EMS chief in the area. So we're really excited to what his experience and clinical expertise is going to bring to the table. So I'm just going to turn it over to him and let him say hello to you guys tonight, and thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, Deputy City Manager, I really appreciate this opportunity to serve the citizens of Winter Haven, and I look forward to the opportunity of advancing the EMS sector of the fire department, and I look forward to the years to come.
Welcome.
All right, welcome.
So again, very excited to have Justin join us, as Chief said, to have somebody overseeing our EMS operations, our advanced life support services that we provide on every one of our fire engines, that has his credentials, is a tremendous benefit to the residents of Winter Haven. We are blessed in that regard. I have 2 service awards I'd like to present this evening, if I may. I'll announce these from here, but then I'll ask the individuals to come forward for a photo. Typically, when we deal with service recognitions at the staff level, a lot of those are handled within the department, but I like to always have our department directors that are being recognized receive theirs at a commission meeting. This evening, it's a great privilege and honor to present a 5-year service award. It seems like it was just yesterday, to Julie Adams, who is the Director of Parks and Recreation. Someone said we lost that bet. No, I'm kidding. And then, in addition, to Mr. Eric Labby for 10 years of service to the city, now serving as your Economic Opportunity and Community Investment Director. One last thing, sorry to keep you longer than we had thought, but just want to remind you, this beginning Wednesday afternoon through what will probably be end of day Friday, Deputy City Manager MJ Carnevale and me will be traveling to the Florida City County Management Association's Winter Institute in Daytona to be with our colleagues. Certainly legislative matters will be a big piece of that. Deputy or Assistant City Manager Charlie Bird will be back in the office beginning Wednesday, and he will be available to handle any emergencies that may come up. We'll certainly be available by phone and email should you need us. That completes my report for this evening.
Thank you. Deputy City Manager?
Good evening, Mayor and City Commissioners. Just a quick update this evening on the Quiet Zone effort that has been ongoing for quite some time. If you recall, in October of last year, we were scheduled for an inspection by the Federal Railroad Administration. That was delayed due to the government shutdown. We have been coordinating with the FRA since that shutdown to get back on their schedule, and I'm happy to say that we are back on their schedule for March 3rd, so that would be next Tuesday. They'll be out here. They should inspect all of the crossings. If that all goes as planned, we'll then be ready to put that project out to bid and move forward with construction. So fingers crossed that everything pans out. It's been a long road on this one. So.
Great news. Yeah, we were going through that canal this weekend and man, just blowing through there.
That's all I have.
On a quiet morning, you can hear the wind's blowing right.
He scared all the
there's
fish
horns all
away.
across town.
He scared all the fish away. All right, City Clerk?
Nothing this evening.
All right. Happy belated. Yeah, happy belated birthday, City Clerk. With that, I don't think we have any emergency matters or anything else to discuss, so with that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.